right now. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey, Larry. Kathy.
Hi, Kathy. Hi, Steve. Hi, Larry. Let me go my video on.
Steve, is your beard even longer because of quarantine?
It needs a trim, yes.
It's off the screen. Right, I have to always do this when I see myself.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I see our councilman Tom Druffel is on.
Yeah, I'm awake too.
Understand you were at 4:30 this morning?
4:30.
Whoa.
And we didn't finish everything. We deferred it till July 7th, some of it, the home occupational bill, which I'm glad we did that.
I am too. I've had a lot of calls today. A lot of people being misinformed on that one.
That's a pretty big deal. I don't think anybody knows the depth. I got a bunch of amendments that I've been able to attach, but it's still pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
Maybe you can explain all that to us, Tom.
It's also the kind of thing that goes viral with a lot of bad information.
Oh, yeah, absolutely crazy. Yeah, and misinformed because people are positioning different parts.
Yeah. If you're not identified by your name, would you please go ahead and put that on there? I see one iPhone up here. That's not Bob Weagle, is it?
It is.
Oh, God, it is Bob Weagle. I didn't recognize you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, we just going to call you iPhone. But I'm glad to have you on. So it's working. Very good.
I know where to call you now.
Okay, well, Bob called me this afternoon, and I was in physical therapy with those electrodes all tied to me. But anyway, I talked to him, and we worked it out. So he's up and running. And hey, Tom, I see you now.
Yeah, I got the sun behind me. I'm trying to figure out a better position, but that should help.
We may have some neighborhood watch people on today. I've invited them to participate if they wanted to come on and whatever. So we may have a few people.
Uh-oh.
Kathy, you don't look happy. Smile.
Went away for a second.
Okay, there you go.
Y'all went away. I thought I've got my AirPods connected, but they're not. They must be dead.
Louise, you can hear me? I got an email from you that said there was nothing on the Tennessean. Was that was not meant for me? I don't think, was it?
Well, the numbers were different than the numbers you sent to us.
Well, we got Tom Druffel. See, he's looking at the 24. Tom's looking at the 34%, which is what the council did last night.
Yeah, Chair Mendez budget passed. So it's the 34%, $6.6 per 100.
My question to Tom is that it seems like they use a flat dollar figure to go up to on the USD as on the GSD. Well, if you do that, the general services district gets a higher percentage of increase than does the urban district. Everybody follow me on that. If you do that, if you take the lower one and raise them both the same amount, you're going to have a higher percentage. It's about a 10% difference. So I hope that they didn't mean to do that, Tom, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, so did it end up at 3,755 for general and the Tennessean had 4.155, but the numbers you sent were 4.221.
Yeah, that's the 4.221 is the 34%. I think what the Tennessean did was the 32%.
Okay.
I think I think they had Cooper's budget, which wasn't close to passing, I don't think, unless I didn't think we were going to, or they were going to fail Mendez.
Yeah.
But I got this straight from our attorney who was involved in all this. So we have Metro Council attorney, and Hannah has it pretty close, I think.
Okay. Well, it's 4:02. With that, Larry, if you just move out of the way a little bit, Larry's got blocking the flag. If you wish to stand, which would be most proper, everybody will be out of view, but we'll say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag,
Of the United States of America,
America,
to the republic
for which it
which
stands,
stands,
and
One
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty and
with
justice for
liberty
all.
and justice for all.
for all.
See the flag.
Well, you can see the lag in this when we do I don't know how they did those vocals that some of those girl high school band choruses sang all together. I don't know how they did that, so I won't ask. I hadn't gotten that far into Zoom. With that, we'll open the regular meeting of Board of Commissioners Wednesday, June the 17th. And we'll open with the public comments portion. And we already were kind of planning with that. Tom, you want to go ahead and give us a kind of a report from their council district?
I'll give you the summary version and be free to answer any questions. I could go on for a few hours here. And you probably don't want to hear all of it. I had a good learning being on the Budget Finance Committee and being on Audit Committee, and learned a lot. I think I contributed a fair amount. I had one of my amendments on budget of one of the three go through. But I think by now you know that Mendez's budget was approved, 34% increase, and I sent Mayor Hunt the specific information on direct impact. We didn't really pass it till about 3 o'clock this morning. So it was a long battle. There was some technical difficulty, so we really didn't get started till 9. A lot of stories. But we voted 32 to 8 in favor. I was one of the 8 that opposed it, mainly because one of the reasons was given increases to staff at this time when people are out of business and out of work. I just felt the wrong time and wrong place to do something like that. Not that the staff did not deserve it. It just wasn't the right time and right place. So felt like that was one of the issues. We identified, and please cut me off because there's a lot in here, but what I found is that we identified some potential revenue opportunities, but really there didn't seem to be an appetite to pursue them. The wheel tax, for example, we think, even though it's argued it could be regressive, we really feel like there's an opportunity there. Kevin Crumble, the mayor's finance guy, really likes the idea down the road because it gives a more distributed revenue distribution. Several of us found that. I had another area where permits and fees had not been touched in probably 15 years. So we're going to do a study. We think that's another opportunity to probably get tens of millions of dollars. Those are the kind of things that I was a little disappointed that there wasn't an appetite to really fight through some of this and find some opportunities. Also, the other thing that I just personally disagreed with is not showing some decline or decline in some of the expenses. You know, the staff, Metro staff, has been out for 3 months getting paid. Don't have a problem with that, but that just tells me there's some inefficiencies that I think we're going to look at. Two things that I think I'm going to be able to make progress with are in the near future, but probably not helping in our current budget, is creating some transparency and accountability. And several people really like the idea of this. One, debt policy. Believe it or not, we don't really have a very well thought out or available debt policy. We went from 10% of our budget to 14% in the last 4 years, debt to overall budget. it just has been kept going, but there was no structure to slow it down or do anything to say, hey, we better stop. I put something out there to sort of catch everybody's attention, saying we need to cap it at 15%. Everybody jumped up pretty quick. But we're going to work with Kevin in the next couple of months to build a debt policy that can be a lot more transparent, so that if we are going deeper in debt, we all know about it. Right now, if I tell people we're this deep in debt, they go, how did we get there, right? That's the real problem. So that was one of my amendments that got a lot of attention, but I think is going to help us as we move forward. The second thing is really building a stronger oversight of Metro itself, so that performance, I'm going to work with performance management. I've asked to have a subcommittee on the Budget Finance Committee to create more oversight on whether it's wages, performance, et cetera. And I have a meeting with them next week, and I've asked Vice Mayor Schulman to put together a subcommittee. I haven't seen, but he's entertaining the thought pretty well. So really trying to build some structure going forward. I don't think any of us on the Metro Council were happy with the process, because you can only amend the mayor's and chairman's budget, meaning that if you, like Glover O'Connell's substitute budgets, which both had some pretty good things in it, we could not do anything. We just had to look at it and vote in its entirety. So the process doesn't allow really the right level of flexibility and building the right program. With Sunshine Law, none of us can talk to each other. We see the budget the first time when it gets there. That's, again, another thing that minimizes our ability to elaborate. Anyhow, I can go on, but part of what I'm working hard right now is to improve the process, so we don't have to go through this, that we build and develop our priorities by fall and not wait for a budget where we have 15-minute meetings with each department manager. We can align our priorities and then come into the budget session already having said, hey, this is where we're going, and this is what we semi-agree on as a Metro Council, and then go from there. So that's a quick version. I'll go to home occupational bill for just a second, but if there's any questions on budget, I'll be glad to answer.
Okay. Go ahead into the home occupational.
Okay, the home occupation is something that Council member Rosenberg has put on, and it's really been driven by the music and entertainment, where they have their music studios in their houses. What drove this is evidently someone called codes on someone that was recording music in their house. Wasn't an issue, but from that, the entire entertainment community got very active and asked Rosenberg to put this together. If we just simply had studios in our houses, we're not a problem with that. If we simply gave piano lessons, not a problem with that. Current code does not allow customers to come to your house. So the big difference immediately was when they opened the Pandora box, they allowed customers, they're saying 6 a day, but then there's very difficult ways to measure this. This is a bill that has been getting a little bit better each year, or each week we see it from the sponsor, but the reality is it's still a long ways from being right. I added 4 amendments that I think will help. One was to enforce it so that you know 2 strikes and you're out versus 3, and then it's a $50 a day fine. Not huge, but it creates some sense of accountability. There's a lot to this. I think it's really important that everybody take a look at this bill, because you can have a hair salon next to you. When you start to look at what can happen, it's pretty scary. So the transfer of simply adding customers opened up the door to so many kinds of businesses that may not be appropriate for a residential neighborhood. On my website, tomdruffel.com, or if you just go and look at the bill, it's 2019-48. You can start to see it morph into what it's becoming. There's a lot of concern, but there's a fair amount of people that have neighborhoods unlike ours. I'm not saying West Meade's like Belle Meade, but the reality is it's more residential. When you look at some of these neighborhoods, a lot of the neighborhoods have more of a mix. There's a little business here and a little business there. Ours are pretty residential. And I think, ours, Green Hills, places like that would have the greatest negative impact. Everybody thinks there won't be any bad players in this thing. I disagree. I think this is going to open the door to a lot of bad players. The enforcement component is one of the most difficult things because codes really doesn't have the place to do it. If you have a sound problem, if you have noise coming from there, you got to go to 4 feet above the outside wall and measure decibels, and it can't be more than 70. Well, how do you prove that? I'm sorry, but those are the kind of things that become, problematic in making this work. So I will end there, answer any questions, but there's a lot of pieces to the bill that actually creates a lot of big problems that I think once you start to look at, it's going to make you pretty nervous.
Well, Tom, I appreciate what you've been doing as our representative in the Metro Council. I did attend Tom's meeting that he had last Saturday, and he had a lot of questions. A lot of people are very, very interested in primarily the tax bill. At the same time, I've gotten calls on this residential, and I get those. Sally will get that call. Sorry, but I'm just wonder, Rusty, if you have any questions about, because you could actually run your business in your home if you wanted to, right? Yeah, Belle Meade. But I want to ask. Let me ask real quick of Doug Berry. Doug, Belle Meade being only residential, no commercial properties. Can Metro try to supersede anything that we're doing?
Jim,
Yes.
I can answer that.
Doug's over here shaking his head. Go ahead.
The Metro bill does not affect us. Just like we have our own law about the Airbnbs, we have our own rules about businesses and homes. So this Metro bill does not affect the city of Belle Meade.
That's what I've told everybody. Right. But there's also that thing that Bob Patterson used to talk about, is that certain things that Metro wanted to do could supersede what Belle Meade wanted to do. Like it was
that would not. Mayor, I'm sorry, I was muted a second ago. It would not. I agree with Beth. It would not supersede our code on home occupation use.
I've told everybody that, and I'm glad that you all confirmed that.
Right.
Thank you. Anybody have any other questions they would want to ask to Tom?
Just to be clear with Tom, this is Kathy.
Kathy.
Hey, so somewhere like West Meade, you could have a business next to you when you don't have that now? I mean, it affects every area except these small cities?
Oh yeah, it affects everybody. You're very fortunate not to have this potential problem. Again, right now, the way it's structured is you aren't allowed to have customers come to your house. Most people do already. I mean, if you're giving piano lessons, nobody really cares. Nobody cares if you're doing something out of your house in an office, and it's all part of what we're doing. And it's not an issue. It's when you're starting to allow customers. I mean, you can have a craft factory in your backyard if you wanted to. You can use an outside building up to 500 square feet, which then allows you have employees that could live with you. These are all real problems. I've minimized. There was an unlimited number of people that could live with you, and you can't cap that because of your family could be part of that. So anyhow, when you start to look at the possibilities, it really makes you nervous.
Okay, thank you. It just sounds like it's trouble.
It's not well thought out at all as a problem. And if we would have just kept it and added, sound studios, we would have been fine, or allowed some minimal, instructional type of things. But it's becoming unwieldy. And as we're trying to hold on to this and recreate it, but I have some more amendments coming, so do others. Anyhow, that's where we're at. I would advise anybody that to become a lot more aware, because it's going to change residential neighborhoods to potentially semi-commercial.
Thanks again, Tom.
Thank you very much.
I interrupted you last time. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And Mayor, thanks for coming out. I appreciate you coming to our meeting. I really, it got pretty interesting, but there's some upset people out there.
Yeah, they are.
Tom, Rusty Moore, and thank you for everything you're doing and staying up all night. I just throw out encouragement to you as our councilman and the rest of the Metro Council to really explore hard, and as I know you're doing, these other revenue sources and looking at fees that have not been touched for 10 or 20 years. And particularly, as I think I've mentioned to you before, on the property tax collections, Metro is doing an incredibly poor job of identifying properties that should be taxed at a higher rate because they're or at a higher mill because of the investment property. So countless properties I look at, people own them, they're investment property, they're leasing them to a tenant, but they're paying at the 25% of value rate as opposed to the 40% of value rate for investment property. And that is an enormous amount of money our city could be collecting and then saving us, the people that have just your residents, be saving us a lot of money. So thank you.
Thanks, Rusty. And I think it's by use, the 25% versus the 40%. But yeah, thanks. What I've learned is there's pockets that nobody's explored. It's like the new guy on the block. You're going, what about this? What about this? And everybody goes, well, hadn't thought about that for a while. Mm-hmm. So there's a few of us that sort of gotten, we're the squeaky wheel a little bit. Thank you.
Rusty, thank you. Anybody have any questions for Tom? With that, anyone else from the public have any questions they want to discuss, ask, or mention? With no public comments further, we will close the public comments portion. We first business would be the approval of the minutes of the meeting of May 20th. Is there a motion to accept those?
Move. This is Louise.
Motion made by Louise. A second.
I'll second. Rusty Moore.
Rusty second. Let's do a roll call in alphabetical order with Kathy going first.
Are we doing the all in favor part?
Yes.
Kathy Altenburn, aye.
Louise, you're second.
Louise Bryan, aye.
I'm third. Aye.
Rusty Moore, aye.
And Bob Weagle, you're fifth.
Bob Weagle, aye.
All right. We're unanimous there. Thank you, Bob. Glad to see you actually, and just hear you. All right. Well, with that, we'll go to the public works portion. Larry Smith, monthly report.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Monthly report, continued as is. Any questions or concerns?
Harry, this is Rusty Moore. Thank you for it. You guys have really been putting a lot of work in lately. Not that you don't always, but with the trees down and the storms and everything. I know we mentioned that last meeting, but thank you guys for all your work.
Thank you, sir.
So we got dead armadillos still coming in too, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You don't think they're being driven in, you think they're walking in. Okay. Anything else for Larry? Thank you, Larry. We've got some business that requires action. We've got quotes for repairs of the Forsyth Bridge and the Westview head wall. Larry, you want to talk about that? And I've got a comment or two to make too.
Yeah, these the repairs on the Forsyth Bridge is some damage that was done by some teenagers. Stones were knocked out, and this is to repair that. And then on the head wall, that was done during the storms at the Davis's residence. It's in the right of way. Tree roots uprooted the end of that storm, the catch basin. So it's to repair catch basin head wall to repair that, and this is to repair the head wall that was damaged from the tree uprooting.
So the Forsyth Bridge was the only thing that would be considered vandalized, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I sent out last night to the Forsyth watch captain who sent it on to her group, and I had a call today from someone who actually witnessed some of this. So we may have a little further to talk about there. I won't talk about that now because it's just early stages. I don't know that we want to really go too far on a $500 damage, but it was obviously vandalized and was witnessed. So we'll check upon that. So you're requesting or estimating and approving, recommending Anthony Thompson Masonry, and you've done work with them before?
Yes, sir. They've done quite a bit of work in the city in the past. Very, very pleased with their work. A lot of our stone wall repairs have been done.
Would there be a motion to entertain Anthony Thompson Masonry for approval of $1,500?
I make the motion to approve Anthony Thompson for this work.
Bob Weigel makes a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second Kathy
Kathy
Altenburn.
seconds. All in favor, alphabetically?
Kathy Altenburn, aye.
Louise Bryan, aye.
Jim Hunt, aye.
Rusty Moore, aye.
And Bob
Bob
Weigel,
Weigel.
obviously aye.
Bob Weigel, aye.
Passes. Thank you, Bob. And thank you all. All right, the next item is estimates for tree removal, Manor Drive. There's been a change in this. Beth, you want to discuss that? Because I don't have that in front of me, actually, what the change was.
Sure. After we sent out the packet, the agenda packet, Davy Tree did submit a proposal to remove this tree, and in the amount of $1,050, which is actually $600 less than the park company, which was the lowest quote originally when I sent the packet out. But Larry and I know that Davy Tree does a very good job, so we're recommending that Davy Tree be given this job in the amount of $1,050.
Before we entertain a motion, I want to ask a question. Now, are there many cases where we use the park company on emergencies to do tree work without going out to bid on these things? Larry,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We use them for emergencies, but in situations like this where it's not an emergency and we can get quotes, we try to get the best price we can.
Okay. So you can use someone in the case of an emergency, but where it's down in the right of way, not blocking traffic, whatever else, then and if it's over $1,000, is that kind of what you estimate would be over $1,000, we would go out and get bids. Is that correct? Beth, I'll ask that to you.
Mayor, the contract for the brush and chipper includes an emergency tree rate, so that we don't have to go out to bid an emergency because it's covered under the contract. So,
Okay.
In this case,
it has to be deemed an emergency, though.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's blocking the road or something like that.
All right. Would anybody make a motion about Davy accepting of the $1,050?
I move that we accept the Davy Tree quote of $1,050.
Louise makes that. Is there a second?
Rusty Moore seconds.
Rusty Moore, second. Let's have a roll call vote, beginning with Kathy.
Kathy Altenburn, aye.
Louise Bryan, aye.
Jim Hunt, aye.
Rusty Moore, aye.
Bob Weigel, aye.
Motion passes. Davy Tree. Thank you.
Thank you.
Request for the parade permit, Boulevard Bolt. Beth, you want to discuss, is anything different about this than in the past, and what happens if we're still under some type of restriction?
It's the same request as every year. Molly, who's kind of the chairperson of this every year, did state that she wanted to go ahead and get the request in to reserve, even though they don't know at this time if there is going to be a Boulevard Bolt, but they didn't want to wait in case someone else took that day for their parade or whatever. So we're approving it with the understanding that there may not be a Bolt if the COVID-19 large gatherings.
It'd be pretty difficult to under phase 2 or 3 to do this, I imagine, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a conditional approval based upon them
Correct.
actually doing the vote.
Yes.
We need to put that in the motion. It's contingent on safety guidelines or something.
I like that idea, Kathy.
I mean, just because somebody could say, we think it's fine, and we may not be comfortable having it in our city. I mean, it seems like we should have some contingency language.
You want to did you make it a conditional approval with conditions? Kathy?
I mean, I thought I would point, is that okay, council, legal? people?
Well, I'd also like to see a COVID phrase. We're working on some other events right now with other organizations, and they are putting in this language, which basically says something to the effect of if you get COVID at this event, the city of Belle Meade is not responsible in any way. There is this language that's being put into everything right now. So I think we should at least see what that language is. I can get it to Doug to show you, but we have to protect the city for anybody who might try something like
And
that.
I might move that we defer this then until we do more research on.
I think that's fine. I
Okay.
think it's, if you do the waiver, it's going to have to be every individual who signs up for the vote would have to sign that. So, and I think that would probably cover us and cover the boat people too. So,
Well, but can I say too though, but people walk in that don't register and just do it for fun. So
Right.
it might be impossible to really know who all was there.
well, I
so-
mean, everybody who registers, if they,
Yeah.
part of the registration process, they could sign the waiver. If they didn't, we should be okay on that because they didn't sign the waiver and because they didn't register, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because they were not participants, they would be spectators.
Yeah.
You know, I agree 100% with both Kathy and Louise. And Kathy, what I would suggest is I agree with deferring it, but also that the language we put in is that our events, this is just a suggestion, but that the events in our city would be geared around what Metro's requirements were. So if Metro was saying gatherings of 100 or less are permitted, then we would not have it. So I think that's safe for us politically, and I think it's safe for us in every way to follow Metro's guidelines on the size of gatherings.
So do we want to just defer it and then bring it back with better language?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think that what Rusty says is fine, except the fact we probably need to get clarification on how they're going to treat a boat in terms of which phase that would be in, so we can.
Right.
follow that.
And then to further explore Louise's suggestion, which I think is great, that is there something we can add in the approval that might help us on the liability situation? I'm 100% behind that.
Yeah. I would imagine we're going to see some lessening and then putting back restrictions all fall because of what we're seeing already with it.
All right, Kathy, you want to rephrase the motion then?
I guess I'm just going to move that we defer it for a month so we can do more research about COVID liability and language, or I can just say defer.
That's good enough. Now let's throw in that to better language on.
Okay, I'll move that we defer this for a month and investigate and add in some language to protect the city and understand that we will follow Metro's guidance.
There's second to Kathy's motion.
Se-
Louise, you're muted.
I second Louise Bryan.
Okay, you go. Did you second?
She did.
She did.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Kathy, aye.
Kathy, okay. Rusty?
Rusty Moore, aye.
Louise, you did say aye, right?
Louise Bryan, aye.
Jim Hunt, aye.
Bob Wiggle, aye.
Thank you. Motion is made to defer. Did you specify time? Kathy, you wanted to say 30 days?
I said a month
Okay.
for the next meeting.
Deferred for a month. The next item is the Master Plan Steering Committee appointments. I think I sent that to Louise. I may have sent that to everybody, but this includes the Louise as chair, Rusty Moore, Lyle and Beth, and then the additional Laura Catherine Wood, Kay Lang, Carter Murray Dawson, Scott Kendall, and Yvonne Ralsky. Did I pronounce that right? Ralsky?
Yes, that's right.
I have a question. Did we make sure that we covered every area? I mean, that we kind of covered the city with this group? not all from the same
Well,
area?
what I wanted to say is that I'd like to go ahead and get these approved, but I'm going to, we can open this up for a couple of more people when as we get the steering, we don't even yet have the actual appointed firm yet. So and Beth may discuss, you want to discuss that where we are at the firm that we're looking at? Because I know that something happened on that today.
Right, we had 2 submittals out of the 3 that we sent the RFQ to. And the selection committee felt that while there was nothing wrong with the 2 submittals we received, they were very good. They felt like reaching out to more firms would be beneficial and at least show the public that we weren't just relying on 2 applications or 2 statements of qualifications. So Randy Gross helped me identify some other firms in the country. So I've sent out 4 additional emails to these firms, and I'm waiting replies from them to see. Even if we end up the same 2 that we got a month ago, at least we've attempted to expand our search and try to get some more submittals. So that's where we're at right now.
Have you got a timetable for how long you want to keep that open?
Probably about another 30 days.
Okay.
For them to look at
I've
RFQ.
anticipated that the steering committee become involved around the 1st of July. It probably won't happen that quickly then.
No, not anymore. That's been pushed back at least 30 to 45 days. So.
And I omitted Randy Gross from that name. I'm sorry about that because he's going to be a key person in this, and I'm sorry I left his name off there. And I will say that we'll entertain a couple more people. If any, Louise, you may have had another suggestion, so there may be some other suggestions, and so we'll entertain those. We'll bring those to the next meeting.
Okay, we'll
but
do that.
I would like
Yes.
to get these formally approved now. Anyone make a motion to approve those?
I make a motion to approve. Louise Bryan.
Louise made a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I second Bob Weagle.
Made a second by Bob Weagle. All in favor say aye alphabetically.
Kathy Altenburn, aye.
Louise Bryan, aye.
Jim Hunt, aye.
Trustee Moore, aye.
Bob Weagle, aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. And Louise, you were named as chair of this. And so if you would kind of coordinate with me on if you want additional people or if anybody wants to provide names, give those to Louise and she can forward those to me and then we'll get those appointed.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. With that, we'll go to city services. Chief?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor and the Board of Commissioners. Had an opportunity to review the monthly report for the police department. Are there any questions?
Chief, I have one question. Did we ever get any reconnaissance on the guys that drove down Chickering Road that Sunday morning with shooting the firecrackers?
As far as I know, not yet. So
that was a very unnerving event for those of us that live at that end of the city.
Absolutely.
It was really very, very loud and sounded like gunshots. And so I know y'all identified at least that they were on a motorcycle, but I just wondered if there was any further learning on that.
Now, I don't believe they were able to get a tag, but pretty sure that was the culprit. So
yes,
teenagers. But
are traffic stops sort of moving back to normal, or are we still, where are they?
We've went up a little bit as compared to last month. Still, we were hoping that Metro would be kind of like the guidelines that you guys had recommended with the boat. We're hoping that we would be in phase 3 by now.
Right. Okay.
So, but we're the officers that are do have plenty of PPE, and so I think that next month you'll see more stops in June. They are coming back up.
Excellent. Thank you.
Chief, I had a question. I noticed that you're doing a lot of stationary radar, but the the number of citations issued is not proportionally increasing.
Yes, sir.
Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, that's the reduced. They're reserving for like they're speeding extremely highly, double digits, bumping the blue lights at somebody that's maybe 10 or 11 over, where normally they conducted a traffic stop, stops to a minimum. But still doing the stationary point still puts us visibly on the roadways. But yes, sir. Traffic.
I'm just looking at like a year ago, 653 stationary radars and 254 citations, and this year 759, an increase of stationary radar, but only 17 citations. Is that kind of a wasted energy to do that, do you think?
No, sir. Respectfully, that still has officers set up, and folks are still seeing us set up, stopping as many or coming out of the hole, if you will. But it still is putting our presence in different spots around the city.
Okay.
But you will see those numbers come up.
Okay.
Chief,
Anything else from Chief?
yes, Chief, this is Bob.
Yes, sir.
We have had a traffic court, haven't we?
Yes, sir. We began traffic court the first week in June under the state Supreme Court's approval of the plan that we submitted. We are checking temperatures in the parking lot and then coordinating with the inside. We're only having 8 persons in the courtroom. The courtroom's been marked off, so they social distance. Masks are required. If they have their own, that's fine. If they don't, then we provide a mask. There's only 4 chairs in the courtroom from the set on. They're hard plastic. So those are sanitized after each event. And we doubled down with the court. Typically, we have court twice a month. For June and July, we are having court 4 times a month. So
Are you gonna stage the people coming into court, 8 folks at a time?
Yes, sir. We're checking them in on the docket, getting their cell phone number,
Okay.
and having them stay in their cars. And then when they get a phone call, we're asking like 2 or 3 at a time to come down from the parking lot. Has those folks that are paid their fines exit.
Had to get creative, didn't you?
Yes, sir, we did. A team effort. Judge, Beth.
I'd like to ask Edie and Beth a question. Is this worked more efficiently than what we had before? Do you think there's something in this for the future?
I don't think so, because it would extend court to be hours and hours long if you can only allow 8 people at a time in the courtroom.
I meant more like making them doing it more in alpha order or how you arrive order rather than.
Oh, I don't know. We'll have to look at that. It's really up to the judge how he wants the order to be for calling people up to the bench. So we'll talk about it with him, but I don't know if it's going to really make court go faster or not.
Okay. All right.
Question, have we been approached at all since we already had cameras on our officers with all that's going on? Have y'all been reached out to for any comment or questions about what we do in any way?
Are you talking about body cams?
Right. I mean, with all the.
We'd like to talk about body cams since that's going to be a huge federal issue now. It's going to come down to Belle Meade next.
I mean, didn't we already approve for body cams?
No.
We didn't? Okay.
The vehicle has the camera.
Right.
Yes.
The vehicle has the camera. Okay. I just don't remember what we did.
So, Chief, I have a question. What kind of training do the police go through regarding de-escalation of an uncooperative, person, or what can you tell us about all the good that goes on training-wise in your department?
I'll give you a brief overview. The mayor had asked me to prepare some written stuff to know what we do. The officers receive training now at the Academy in de-escalation. Back in the day, it's always been around. The terminology usually was verbal judo. It is in our policy especially since we became accredited. When you're an accredited agency, you are agreeing to adopt policies that are considered across the nation and even internationally as the best practices. De-escalation is in there, force continuum. Some people have been 8 can't wait slogan or hashtag 8 can't wait. We're doing practically all of those. More so now since we went through accreditation. You can't have a policy on every single event, but you have a guiding principle. And our policies, I've reviewed them. And last week at the Chiefs Association, they're going to come out with a statement that all the police chiefs that are in the association are all reviewing those. They are public record. Our policy, a chokehold would be considered deadly force and is not authorized. And annually, usually there's some de-escalation. We use a video internet cloud-based training service, and de-escalation techniques are in there along with dealing with people with mental health issues. That also has a second round of de-escalation. In there, we want to de-escalate when we can, and there's a lot of moving parts. A lot of times it takes two to de-escalate. But officers are aware in certain techniques. If the person is responsive, we can talk them down. Our internal word for it is sweet talk somebody in the car. We'd much rather do that than put you in the car. And so it's not looked at as an officer being cowardice or scared if they have the ability to use verbal escalation to elicit someone's cooperation during an arrest.
Chief, how have your officers responded, or have they been discussing what's been going on a national basis, or has there been much discussion?
Yeah, there's been some there, we're in the trade, so there's some topics, and I have to say we've had a big outpouring of support. Support varies. Unfortunately, the national media is not really spotlighting the silent majority, which it doesn't want to defund the police. Everybody's open. I am open to using any technique that comes out that will protect the public, that will further protect the city. I have to say our morale is probably better than average from that standpoint, because we've had 2 or 3 parents over the last few weeks, even with all this going on, stop in with their children. We want you to meet the police. The police are not bad, because it's impacting people's children that watch this. And this area, the city of Belle Meade, its residents, people in this area have made special efforts to let us know that, hey, look, we know all you guys are not bad. Obviously we condone what happened in Minneapolis, and bad police work. Just and we're going to highlight in ours. It's in our policy for officers to intervene, not just in something they think is illegal, to do the self-reporting, but we are going to bold that up a little bit. Metro put out a model that I showed Beth Monday, and I'm going to try to title that after, and if you guys want to review it, I don't have any problem with y'all putting it on the website. If citizens want to say, what is our policy, we're going to try to attempt to make a link so that they can look at it.
Well, the Belle Meade Living magazine is being re-energized for an August issue, and we were asked to write about the long range plan, but I think we're a little we don't have enough information right now. So would you welcome an article on the police department and all the training you do, your accreditation, and the outpouring of support? I mean, I think there's so much good news to share in the highlight. It may be a very positive thing. I just kind of want to throw that out to the chief and the commissioners.
Louise, I did not mean to ignore your email, which I did not do. I immediately called Beth and Tim, and our concern, I think, was that if we reacted at that time, it would appear like we were reacting to the citizens, and I think it'd be better if we're waiting, and I think we're ready now to go out with a very positive article on the police department. So it doesn't look like that we are responding or reacting to everything going on in the city. We are doing a proactive. He's been working on it, Beth's helping, and I'm helping too on that. So we'll get that, and we'll get it to you for to get you to look at that too. Okay.
Okay, great. I just think there's a lot of good to talk about, and
no
we could
question.
change the angle a little bit.
I certainly welcome it. Certainly welcome it. Yes.
Bob Weagle, I'm going to ask you to either sit still or quit bouncing around that telephone because it's banging. You're making all this noise over there for everybody. Now, you know what Lyle can do. Lyle has a master switch. He can mute your microphone except when necessary. We're going to need to do that? He did. It got muted. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. When anybody that's using a handheld phone is going to be susceptible to moving around and putting the phone down. So, but just be aware that it does make a lot of noise when you do that. Okay. Anything else from Chief? We had I think Rusty, you and myself and Kathy had an email from John Ferguson about the delineators on Linwood. He seemed to be, he was saying if it's really a majority of people would like to keep those, he was not going to fight it, but he wanted to know that he didn't think they were slowing people down. They were dangerous because when people had to go through the two delineators, they were having to slow down so much, and he almost got hit. I think, Chief, I sent you that today
Yes.
too. So
Yes,
you want to make a quick report, and I have asked the watch captain, Kay Lang, to do a little survey among all those residents along there to kind of get their feeling about it. And I told John Ferguson we'd do the same thing, but I don't want to react to.
His house is in the worst kind of possible spot, the way right at the intersection of Walnut and Abbott Martin and Linwood. So it may feel different to him right there, but
if it's working, I think he will agree that.
I think so too. He's so reasonable.
Chief?
Yes, sir. After receiving that, Beth and I had a quick conversation about that. Our last data showed that they were, at least the choke point was causing some slowdown. Once you're out of that, people certainly sometimes tend to accelerate. It can be tight, but, if there's a bicyclist, sharing the road, you can't control all the drivers. So, if you're a pedestrian or cyclist or even another motorist, you got to be really paying attention. I think long-term, and y'all, I know you guys are working on some long-term with the board you're putting together and all that. I think I've heard a few things. This is not a suggestion, just having a conversation. If you didn't put speed tables in that area, these pavers, decorative pavers that make you run over a rough spot in the road, tends to be very effective in slowing down, and then they are a lot more attractive than these delineators. And so I think we'll keep looking at them. I'm happy to run another study to see how we're looking,
I think that Lyle and Louise and Larry are all looking at something, and that's part of the long-range planning. I do believe for doing something with those. I'm not going to oppose that at all. I think that's a good idea.
Thank you for bringing that up, Mayor. Yes, I think we just need to know whether we think they're effective or not and react from the actual data and not just perceptions. So, Chief, knowing what you think about that is important.
Well, thank you. And like I said, I will get a fresh study within the next couple of weeks. Should be ready by the next meeting. And I can push that information out to get you guys to help me read the data and see where we're at. It's making some notes here.
All right, anything else from Chief on public safety? Larry, health and sanitation.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Any questions or concerns on the report, monthly report?
Wow. 16 pumps, wasn't it?
You know, we were quite busy this last month. A lot of this was the.
You warned me. You warned me
I told
last
you.
month. Wow, that's an all-time record, isn't it?
Pretty close. I think when we had the flood, we had more, but yeah.
We did. A lot more.
That's understandable.
Larry, you got any other comments?
No, sir.
Let's get our Zoom engineer on to do building, zoning, and planning. Lyle?
Yes, sir. Happy to answer any questions you may have about the permits. Things are starting to pick back up.
You want to make any comments about your HBC? Keep us
Yes.
posted on that.
They're doing a really fantastic job. We've had probably 7 applicants try and come through. We actually had 2 homes. It took them 6 months, 5 or 6 months to finally get through. They were just approved, I guess last, and it's a vast difference in the design from when they submitted in January and now. I mean, it's incredible. Hats off to the commission for that. They're really doing a great job on design and helping to guide the architects and contractors through this process. I think everybody's on board on what the city of Belle Meade is looking for in a home of integrity.
Good. I think that's so important that it's proving itself with people who would be submitting permits on things we wouldn't want to approve. They're having to do this, and they're learning about it and are making corrections in some cases before they even get to Lyle. So
that is true.
Looking good.
Lyle, I just want to comment on the year to date.
Okay.
I think you can see we're about $4.5 million down, but the revenue for the permits is basically the same. So I think that's commendable.
Well, the only reason we're down on the permit value is because of these homes not being able to pass HCC on their first or second attempt.
I got you. Yeah.
That's going to catch up. As a matter of fact, I wrote a permit today for about, I think it was 8 million, I believe.
Wow.
So we're going to catch up quick.
That'll get you quick. Get you quick. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for what you did.
You also closed Lawson Allen's. Was that a celebration or what?
Yeah. We're still dealing with him on the driveway, but the home is officially closed.
Okay. Yeah. Chief, let me come back to you on something else that we didn't discuss, and that was we had a police. Police had provided a heck of a service to a person who had a drug overdose, a construction worker over on there. I think it might have been at Gray's house. You want to talk about that just for a minute?
Yes, sir. We had 2 officers, Officer Samo and Wright. There was a 911 call to Nickel Lane, and we intercepted it and got there within a minute. CPR was in progress by a coworker. It was determined that he was most likely having a overdose, probably unintentional. And so Officer Wright took over CPR and administered a dose of Narcan. Continued compressions. He was not these folks have an almost immediate reaction to Narcan. He still wasn't reacting, so Officer Simmel administered a second dose of Narcan, at which time his color started to come back and he began to breathe on his own. So
that's a miraculous story. Keith told me about he had never seen Narcan work, and he said when it didn't work the first time, he said, "Oh, it's not working." Got him again, and he said he started opening his eyes. This guy was dead.
He was dead, yes, sir. And other counties, the thing about Narcan being such a saving drug, if you give it to somebody that's not in. It's not going to hurt them. And you overdose them with Narcan. The recommended is, there's some training there. It's not very complicated. I've heard of cases in other counties, somebody 4 or 5 times doses before they put them back.
How many doses does a police car carry? Do they have on, or do also?
Typically a couple. They typically have 1 or 2 spares in their car. It's usually in their organizer, and then they carry it. Most officers, we have a pant now that we're wearing that has a zipper storage, like a lot of times you can't see it because it's not a flap. And anyway, they carry it in a side pocket on their uniform. So they've got 1 on their person and typically 1 or 2 in the car.
Is it very expensive?
It can be. The state has a program. Matter of fact, we just reordered about 28 doses, and that is no charge for us at this point. So
Charge, because I think it's fairly expensive.
yeah, it is. But like I say, the state's got a program, and particularly with us having so few cases per year, we're still able to get them under a grant.
That's great. Great to hear. Great story too. Thank you. There is an application of activity permit, Belle Meade Plantation. Lau, did you get some kind of update on that?
No, I did, Mayor.
Okay.
Yes, Alton Kelly called me earlier this week and asked if he could defer this until July. The only thing that's really up and running at the plantation now is the restaurant. And he doesn't have anything to report as far as future activities because they can't do anything right now under phase 2. So he's hoping that by July, at least phase 3 will be in effect where they can open up a little more and plan some activity. So he'd like to come back next month and report on this.
I think it's just the opposite. They're under. I think the opening would be they're under phase 2 right now.
Correct.
And I think that phase 3, if they can't open and they can't open under phase 3, it would be phase. I think they're actually opening now, but it's very limited. So, but
yeah, they'll do a little bit more under phase 3, but it won't be the full amount of people like normal.
Yeah. Lau, you want to comment on the restaurant there? Give them a
good. Give
them a kudo.
Good. I'm gonna give them big kudo. I highly recommend the smoked meatloaf, the oat beans, the collard greens. It's all good.
It really is, and they do. If you're nervous about going outside, don't go. But if you're not nervous and sit on that porch and the fan's going, and maybe the COVID's going around too, but it's good food, and it's they've got a smoker, great smoker, got great meat and 3. So I highly recommend it. And
yeah, the deck that they put in is really spectacular. It's better than I thought it was going to be.
Last time I went, the chief was there enjoying himself. Had they made a special concession for some of our employees and for what do you know about that?
They have all employees for the city get half price for 1 year.
1 year. Okay. What about commissioners? Commissioners get any break?
Yes, we got the same thing.
Well, you could probably do that. I don't care. It's really not a restaurant. It's like a cafeteria with the meat and 3, very, 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 very good food and very reasonably priced, and hopefully it'll be okay and help them get their feet back on the ground. All right, we don't. That's information, so we really don't have to vote on that.
Correct.
The next item is appointment of Chris Tardio to BZA. We voted and approved Chris as an alternate member several months ago, and we need a regular member. He's agreed to serve, and actually he served yesterday, but probably as an alternate yesterday. But we would need to get formal approval for him moving from the alternate to a regular member. Lau, you have any comments about that? I thought he did a good job yesterday on his presentations and whatever.
He picked it up really quick. I think he's going to do a great job.
Yeah, thank you. Motion to approve Chris Tardio as a regular member of the BZA.
Mayor, I have one question. While is it your opinion that he sort of understands the guidelines? I know BZA has been a little bit of a concern on some things that they've a little bit gone off the rails on. You feel like he understands the rules and will listen to your recommendations?
I do.
That's all I need to hear.
Okay.
And Rusty, I appreciate your comments. I think that sometimes there's a lot of haggling over things that don't need to be haggled over. They should be just closed out and done with. And I think it was an example yesterday with that lot. It should have been disapproved early on rather than listen to all the 20 or 30 minutes discussion of trying to get it. Why? Doug, I don't know whether Doug wants to comment. Where is Doug? Well, I see him. Yes.
Here.
He's there.
Well, you've got to give the applicant a chance to present their case, but I thought it was a little long myself. But, you know.
Well, in those cases, I certainly wouldn't object to Lyle and or Doug, encourage them to move along a little bit too. So sometimes they do belabor it.
Yeah.
And Mayor, what my concern or a concern that's been raised is that we have a professional, we have an extraordinary staff in the city, and so while our staff is not making the decisions, that's why we have a board. I think it's just really important that the people that serve on these zoning and historical zoning boards understand the study and the work that our staff goes into, and when they make a recommendation, it should definitely have some bearing on their decision. And certainly when they're advised that something is way off the tracks, that's when I think they really should be listening.
I agree. Doug, you want to comment on Rusty's comment?
Well, yes, I think they should listen to staff, but ultimately, the applicant has to make their case. They need to come in here with a better organized presentation, in my opinion, Rusty. These folks who are seeking variances. It may be time for a little orientation talk for all these boards anyway. Lyle and I have discussed this. They've got a lot of things a lot of concerns they have in common about procedure, and then they've also got some specifics as to their particular jurisdiction they need to be kind of briefed on. And we did that I want to say in the fall of 2017. Maybe time to sit down with them all again and talk.
We have a member of the BZA on here, and that's Gloria Sternberg. She's good making good comments. Gloria, you want to make any comments now?
Well, I think that, yes, I think that yesterday that particular case went on very long, and I know I asked some questions. I was trying to get to the point of the variance, and they kept repeating themselves.
Yeah.
There was not a strong presentation by it ended up being the homeowner instead of someone representing the homeowner. And he clearly wasn't prepared or didn't understand what he had to prove. And yes, but I think that the BZA, we've had a lot of turnover. We've been running with 4 people. And I don't think we've been consistent. And maybe we need more training for the chair.
Thank you.
And I hate saying that, but I think that, it needs to be somebody that can control the discussion and cut it off.
Well, you've got a past chair who's there.
And a lot of us are relatively new still. I've been there, a year, a little over a year and a half, maybe.
Seems like a lot longer than that, doesn't it?
It seems like forever. But I think that a lot of us are new, and then, we're doing the best we can, I guess.
I think that there's a certain interface between the BZA and the HZC that I think will help in the long run And I think Lyle has already been doing a lot of clearinghouse work for the BZA, but the HZC really will do some work, I think, and help. Lyle, do you want to make any comments about that? I don't want to be putting words in your mouth.
No, I think you're right. By the time they get through the HCC, if they do have something that requires a special exception or variance, I think having gone through the HCC and passed carries some weight when it comes to the BZA.
Just so that everybody knows, yesterday's discussion was on the request for a pool, but it was on a lot that should never have been approved for a pool, but there was a lot of things going on, a lot of discussion. It looked like that. And I never knew what was going to happen, because it really was definitely a declination, but nobody would decline it. So it finally was declined, but there was just way too much discussion on it. So
I'd just like to add that recently, in the last couple of months, after I announce each appellant case, I say staff recommend or staff does not recommend, just to kind of give the BZA a hint how I feel about it. And, you know, as I've mentioned before, I vet these people sometimes for months on end before they get to the BZA.
would that, because it was a pool, would that have to come to the BZA, even though that the lot didn't qualify for the pool?
Any pool comes to the BZA.
Regardless of whether the lot was, okay, because that's what most of them, the lot doesn't qualify.
Right.
All right. And Doug, I like what you're saying, is maybe some reinforcement of some basic, maybe more Robert's rules and moving the.
I've got a four-part lecture that I've given to cities far and wide, which I can take for this group. And
I saw you perk up when somebody mentioned sunshine law today. I think that was
exactly, that's one that was close to my heart.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you all.
I just want to add one thing to that, because I think this gets back to something we discussed earlier, and it goes back to, I think, what Rusty was saying. I mean, I certainly appreciate that all groups need some orientation. I don't think that we need to spend as much time on the Roberts Rules as we do on what the precedent imagery of our neighborhood is supposed to be evolving into. And this came up because a very large house on Linwood was granted a gate. I mean, individual houses with gates is absolutely not the imagery that Belle Meade, this park-like, verdant landscape should be receiving at all. So when we talk about the training, I understand that Robert's Rules is part of the issue, and of course the whole decorum of the meeting, the length of the meeting. But also, I think the training needs to include what we're aiming for with the whole image and imagery of Belle Meade.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, all this, Robert's Rules usually is about 10 minutes. So,
but it can make them come to a decision on voting and
right. There are mechanisms to do that. Mm-hmm. The only thing I would say before we leave the subject is it's fine to control the board's discussion, and it's also fine to control the applicant's presentation, but I would say, having done this for a lot of years, always give the applicant a chance to prove their case. If they can't do it, they don't do it. Mm-hmm. You have to give them plenty of time sometimes. So it was a little unruly last night, but by far not the worst I have seen.
Okay. Thank you, Doug.
You should go to Metro Board of Zoning Appeals some night if you really want to get civics. So.
Thank you. We'll move along. Laura Catherine Wood, let's hear about beautification.
Mayor Hunt, no, what you need a motion and a second to appoint Chris Tardio.
Oh, I thought we did that.
You veered off course.
Is there? Thank you.
I'll move that we accept the appointment of Chris Tardio to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Is there a second?
I second. Louise.
Motion made and second, and all in favor alphabetically.
Kathy Altenburn, aye.
Louise Bryan, aye.
Jim Hunt, aye.
Rusty Moore, aye.
Bob? Oh, he's probably saying he's muted. Let's see. Let's get him unmuted real quick. Is he not being able to be unmuted? Bob, raise your hand as an aye. I can see, raise your hand. There we
He's
go.
got it.
We got his eye. Okay. Motion passes. Chris Tardio, regular member. Waste collection, no matters. Beautification,
Okie doke.
Laura Catherine.
Hey, everybody. Okay, so now that we have the tree ordinance in place, we are ready to begin the application for Tree City USA. And that's a big step for us. Beth actually found out that there's something called, you can do a tree sanctuary for your home that you can apply and do. And certainly that's not going to appeal to everyone, but I think definitely that is something we're very interested in and we'll pursue. So our committee is going to take a deeper dive into that and see what we can do. And if it's something that seems beneficial, then we would love to do some education around that and sort of promoting. That would just be great. The second thing is we are waiting on phase 3 to open so that we can walk Belle Meade Boulevard. And what we're planning to do is have the whole committee, we're going to break it up into quarters, and so it'll be 4 different days, but we'll walk the boulevard, each median, and discuss every tree, every telephone pole, every planting, because we want to be prepared with our long-term plan to work in conjunction with the city's long-term plan. And there's a lot of momentum right here. Everybody's really excited and ready to move on this. And actually I've had several members say, if we all wear face masks, can we just go on and go? But because we are, a city committee, we absolutely must adhere to the directives our city is giving. And so, but we're really chomping at the bit to do that. We're very excited. So we plan on just the committee. All I want is just the committee. We're going to talk about what we want, what we think, how it fits in the plan. And then our long range plan, which is a separate subcommittee, which is like 98% of the committee, is going to sit down and say, okay, this is what we think. And we'll take it median by median. We'll obviously prioritize what needs to be done first with, in respect to dead trees and replacements and also, trimming around the NES lines. But we are very excited about this. Like I said, they're really, I'm getting calls, several calls a week to say, when can we go? When can we go? So that's just really fun. We haven't had this kind of excitement since the very beginning. So I really want to pounce on this. So the minute that we are able to meet, we're going to be walking the boulevard.
Laura Catherine?
Yes.
Hey, this is Beth. I've got a copy of the Metro's roadmap to reopening for phase 2.
Thank you.
To have gatherings up to 25 people.
Woohoo!
You can
All
do
right,
it.
then we'll be out there this week. No,
Awesome.
we'll probably be out there next week. So that is awesome, Beth. Thank you. I thought for some reason, I thought we were limited to less than that. So wonderful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we'll be out there soon then. So if you see a whole bunch of people walking around, just honk and wave. Okay. The other thing is now that we have our logo, we have ordered note cards with our stationery. And as soon as that comes in, the thank you notes will start to roll out for the donations. Last year we didn't even have the idea to do the thank you notes until later. So I'm okay with the fact that they're not going out immediately, but certainly from here on out, as they come in, it'll probably take about 2 weeks to catch up, or to do all the notes once we get the list. And then from there on, it'll be within a week. But very, very excited about that. And then that's the last. Then our next meeting is July the 13th, second Monday in July. And again, depending on if we can meet at City Hall or if we need to Zoom, we'll play that by ear. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions?
Nobody? Okay.
Your excitement continues to amaze. Continue.
Actually, we are really excited about the boulevard. It's not just me. My committee is pumped. We just cannot wait to get out there and really, because the boulevard needs some help at the moment. We've got a lot of trees that are kind of lopped off halfway through, to accommodate the power lines and things. And so we'd like to have a long-term solution that doesn't require NES to lop off the top half of all of our trees. Whether that's smaller trees, whether that's lower plantings, how can we really embrace this? And I think we've got a very qualified committee, very educated in ideas and what we can do. We're also trying to promote this whole native plantings. Not everything will be native, of course, but we would love to do as much as possible because, that's again fitting with this whole beautiful meadow and what would originally grow here. So I just, I'm really excited, and so is the committee. And then our plan is to get this in writing, figure out exactly what we want to do, get a budget together, and then we'll say, okay, let's look at what we have, let's start prioritizing, and then then we will present it to you and say, how does this fit into the long range plan? Where can we walk alongside you in this? So we're really excited.
Great. Questions? Thank you, Laura Catherine.
You're welcome.
I'm going to call you LK. You don't mind that, do you?
I don't mind that at all.
It's easier.
It's a lot easier.
City communication, no matters. Financial statements, Lee. Where's Lee? Oh, Lee.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself.
Okay, there you go.
You all have the May financials. Does anyone have any questions?
Well, it was interesting listening to the mayor present yesterday about how bad the financial situation was Metro with their surplus funds equal to less than 1% of their budget, where some of the best cities in the country were 30 and 40%. Looking at Belle Meade, we are about 400%. So we don't need to be compared with anybody since they'll be wanting our money, I think. So they are doing a comparison on how their surplus funds are comparing to their budget, and it was surprising how little funds Metro has. They really have zero is really what it gets down to. Metro has no surplus funds at all, no reserve.
I have one question.
Sure.
On page 36, capital budget.
Yes.
Under stormwater, we've got $4,377. Was that a big surprise or something? Because we didn't, we had nothing in the budget for undesignated stormwater improvements.
Trying to remember what that was. Give me 1 second, if you will. I'll see what that is. I did want to say, so I'm looking, Bob, so I'm not ignoring you. I'm looking, but I did want to say one thing, and I had told Beth about my time here. I know we've got these challenges with our budget because of the COVID-19 and not knowing where our income is going to come and all that. But if you look at when we get to our resolution here at the end, when the income, we didn't know what our income was going to be. So we've also had a lot of savings as far as the travel and the related type expenses. So it's really nice to see that, sometimes that doesn't go hand in hand.
Yeah. I'm just wondering what it was. I mean, since.
Well, if you don't mind, I can't get to it quickly.
Big zero.
It's taken a minute. Do you mind if I email it to you?
Yeah, problem.
Okay. Or while we go on to our next topics here, I can be looking.
Okay.
Is there anything else?
Anything on financial schedules? Obviously, investment schedules continue to be rather poor.
Did you notice the interest dropped again?
Yeah, it dropped again. And I haven't gotten an update on the CD laddering, but it's obviously the new purchases are going to be coming down, but it's still maintaining a pretty good revenue stream for us. So I think this
Yeah,
shows.
actually, interest income, if you look on the CD laddering program, the interest income was more than I really thought was going to be this time.
Well, again, when we're dealing with basically a 0% interest rate, and we're getting 1.5%, 1.75% on the CD still. So
Right.
that would look pretty good in that, but the climate's just not very good for interest right now. But we of course remain in excellent financial shape. With the continuation of the COVID, we'll still be all right for a while. I don't think we need to be too concerned with the finances. And I want to congratulate the staff for working through all this so professionally, and we didn't miss a beat. I don't think we missed a beat so far.
Nope.
Lee, I'll let you come back if you've got the answer to that, but let's go on.
Yeah, if you don't mind, go ahead and I'll come back.
Don't mind at all. And invoices over 5,000. We've got just the one from Gibbs Brothers.
That's it. Uh-huh.
$7,688, and that's for Glen Eden. Okay.
This was culvert work, Jim.
Yeah. Okay.
On Glen Eden.
Larry, we don't pave Page at all, right? Is that correct?
No, sir. Page Road is not one of our streets.
It was paved and it really needed paving, but that was in front of the Belle Meade houses down there, but it really was the golf course on the other side. So
yes, sir.
That's all Metro all the way to Belle Meade Boulevard. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they finally, after how many years did they finally pave that stretch? It was in bad shape. You've been putting hot mix and cold mix and warm mix and everything else over there in these potholes over there. We were maintaining it really except we just didn't pave it. Okay, is there a motion to approve the 7668 from Gibbs Brothers?
Mayor, I move for approval, Rusty Moore.
Rusty move. Is there a second?
I'll second Kathy Altman.
Kathy second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye alphabetically.
Kathy Altman, aye.
Louise Bryan, aye.
Jim Hunt, aye.
Moore, aye.
Bob
Weigel,
Weigel.
aye.
All right, he's
Aye.
back on. All right, good, Bob. Thank you.
I'm learning.
All right, you are. Okay,
I used to be called sewer. Hey, Jim, I used to be called sewer man.
Yeah. Well, you probably deserve that. But you're moving up now. You're gonna be called Zoom, Mr. Zoom.
There you go.
Okay. Let's see. Facilities, no matters. Personnel, no matters. Legislation 2020-1, budget appropriations for fiscal year 2020-21. And on second reading, we do have amendment to that, but we'll go ahead and let's get the second reading done on this before we vote on the amendment. Is there a motion to approve ordinance budget appropriations for fiscal year 2021 on second reading?
I'll move.
I make
for
the
approval,
motion
Kathy.
to accept it.
Bob makes the motion. Kathy makes the second. Let's vote in alphabetical order. Kathy?
Kathy Altman, aye.
Wait,
Louise Bryan, aye.
Jim Hunt, aye.
Rusty Moore, aye.
Bob Weigel, aye.
Okay, we'll get to the resolution on amending in just a moment.
Jim, the resolution amends the current budget. This is next year's budget
Yeah.
that you're
Oh.
approving. So
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Bill.
Go ahead.
I actually had a couple of comments I wanted to make on that, if I could.
Well, let's go ahead and Lyle, you got that? Can you post that for us here, please? Lyle, are you trying to? There we go. All right, Lee,
That's
you
for the
wanna-
resolution, Jim.
Hmm?
That's for the resolution, 2020-06. That has nothing to do with the ordinance that you just passed.
That's what I was talking about, though. And you interrupted me and said, go
I'm
to the other.
sorry. I thought you were trying to say they were the same thing.
No, I was not. I was waiting.
Okay.
I was going to go ahead and do this now because we're following the budget appropriations. So if we can go to resolution 2020-06. Lee, you want to discuss that?
Yeah, well, actually, if I could go back just 1 second, on ordinance 2020-1, I did want to bring it to everyone's attention. You know, we had our first reading at our meeting last month. And after we met last month, I did receive notice from the state that we were going to have a 5.4% increase in our health insurance. And so I did make that adjustment. And then the only other change that was made from the first reading, I believe Beth sent you all, forwarded you a message that she got from PEP saying that Belle Meade was getting an emergency relief refund for $13,511.
It's a dividend on our insurance.
Dividend.
Yes.
That was added into other revenue. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention so you'd be aware that this does differ from the first reading.
Okay, thank you.
Correct.
Let's move on to 2020-06, amending the 2019-5 budget appropriation fiscal year 2019. Will you discuss that?
Certainly. Hey, real quick, what Bob had asked about, the 4377, those were invoices from CEC where they had done some infrastructure assessments. It was just various invoices for that. So
Is that part of 15,000 we had in there for that?
Yes, they did an infrastructure.
It was, I put it probably on the wrong line, Bob, the 4377. I probably should have put it.
Okay, that's probably what it is.
That's my error.
Well, that's the first one you made.
Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
These are the proposed amendments for the current budget.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Let me I prepared a summary for you all. I didn't know if you needed any more explanation, but what we had done, and great help from Beth, and I'm so appreciative. Beth has been incredibly helpful because this is my first type of budget this way. I've done budgets, but this way. But anyway, did this summary for you all and wondered if you had any questions.
I think this is a lot better than just throwing up an ordinance that we really don't, when you really got to get down and dig to it. This sure is extremely helpful in understanding why the amendments are there. You want to, Lyle, can you scroll that down? There we go. I think there are actually 4 pages to that, aren't there?
Yeah, I appreciate this summary. It's very thorough.
Good. The only, I use the word different from the nonprofit world where I was before, you know, with the state shared revenues that we get, we will not get our May and June revenue until July and August. So that's a difference I'm adapting to.
Well, we've gotten used to that. We'll have to get unused to that as soon as that's killed. I would like to go ahead and this is a resolution. This will be accepted immediately once voted upon.
Right.
Is there a motion to approve resolution 2020-6?
This is Rusty Moore. I so move.
Rusty Moore moves it. A second.
Louise Bryan seconds.
Louise Brown second. All in favor say aye, voting from alphabetically. You're muted, Kathy. We got you. I read your lips.
Louise Bryan, aye.
Jim Hunt, aye.
Moore, aye.
Bob Weigel, aye.
Thank you. Did we, now I'm a little confused. Did we vote on 2020-1 budget appropriation for fiscal year 2021?
Yes,
We did vote on that. Okay.
yes, we did. That's
So,
done.
Ordinance 2020-2 fixing the tax rate for fiscal year 2020-2021 on second reading at 30 cents. Do we need any discussion on that? I still think that ours is so much better than anybody else's, and it sure keeps the whole overall taxes by Belle Meade residents down.
I so move.
I second Rusty Moore.
We have a motion moved by Bob Weigel, seconded by Rusty. All in favor say aye alphabetically.
Kathy Goldenberg, aye.
Louise Bryan, aye.
Jim Hunt, aye.
Moore, aye.
Bob Weigel, aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. Ordinance 2020-3, amending section 12-407 of the Belle Meade Municipal Code to modify certain provisions for flood hazard reduction on second reading. Steve or Lyle, do you need to refresh us on that at all?
He's gone to the plantation.
No, he's still here. Now, Steve may have gone. Where's Steve?
All right, I'll touch on it briefly. We are
Real briefly, okay.
Belle Meade tax zone 3 feet above FEMA's required 1 foot above base flood elevation. This is to reduce it to 1 foot above FEMA's requirement of 1 foot above base flood elevation, a total of 2 feet.
This is on second reading. Motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve. I think this makes so much sense and eliminates a lot of these houses that are too high off the ground. So Rusty Moore moves for approval.
Give me a second.
Bob Weigel seconds.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor say aye. Kathy?
Kathy Goldenberg, aye.
Louise Bryan, aye.
Jim Hunt, aye.
Rusty Moore, aye.
Bob Weigel, aye.
Maybe that house over on Forsyth will start sinking a little bit. You won't secure.
Their landscaping has helped a bit. I mean, they've added
Yes.
sinks and stuff in. It looks like a little bit better.
Yeah, well, yeah, I do think it looks better, but it's still pretty big. It looks like a huge house, and it really probably is not that huge when you get down to it. Last legislation, Resolution 2020-05, amending Resolution 2019-01, establishing amounts of fees to be charged by the City of Belle Meade for permit applications and other fees. This was discussed at recent meetings. Let me see, let me pull mine out. Has everybody got that in front of them? The fees? Yeah. Any discussion on any of that? Lyle, you want to make any comment there? Do you think that this is going to create any, no hassle with it?
This is from the sewer fund, Jim. This is
Larry.
any of Lyle's fees.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is the sewer fund permit fee and the tap fee, which we call the access.
That's right. Where is Steve around? Lyle, you can address this. Where is this consistent with other fees, or does
I think
this is
Larry needs to address
Larry,
that.
And where did Steve leave?
Steve
Yes,
had
sir.
to go to a meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. Steve
Yes, sir,
wasn't
Mr.
involved in this.
Mr. Mayor,
Mm-hmm.
what we did was we looked at other cities and seen what their fees were. And as you can see, we have not had an increase since 1994. And we feel that this increase would be justified and is really needed to help with our revenue.
I'm sure Bob Weigel would agree to that.
Mayor Rusty Moore, and this is just like I think Metro it needs to do and is doing, but it's just taking a look at things that haven't been touched in a number of years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I applaud Beth and Larry and their department there for looking at this and finding these things, and I hope we can dig up a few more.
I agree with it.
Thank you.
Bob, why don't you make the motion on that, since this is really your bailiwick?
I make the motion to accept these new fees for these charges which have gone unlooked for so many years.
All right, Bob, wait, making the motion to approve resolution 2020-05. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Kathy.
Kathy's seconding. All in favor, alphabetically?
Kathy Aldenburn, aye.
Louise Bryant, aye.
Jim Hunt, aye.
Trustee Moore, aye.
Bob Weigel, aye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Is there
Thank
any other business to discuss?
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead. I'll
Kathy?
go ahead.
Don't we have the building permit fees that were in the packet?
No, the resolution includes all fees. The only ones we're changing though is the two for the sewer.
Okay, gotcha.
The other ones are unchanged
I
since
see.
the last resolution was passed.
Gotcha.
So sorry about that. It is a little confusing.
Yeah, it is.
I know. It's the format though that we have to follow. But thank you.
Bob,
got
do you have any questions?
Yes, I do.
We're looking at the ceiling in your house now.
I'm concerned about the water company, how they are charging the customer for our share of the Belle Meade part that we're supposed to get. You know, there's always been a line item on the bill that says Belle Meade charges, and it's still there, but it's not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be $2, and I believe it's $2.58 per CCF.
Larry, I know you all were collecting information on some water bills. What was that? Was that for that?
Yes, sir. It's still in the progress. I haven't gotten, I've gotten yours, and I'm still working on trying to get another.
So we had trouble with our water bill and doing some research. It went from, by 8 times increased. And it wasn't just the sprinkler, but the Metro, we've called like a zillion people. It's a variable rate now. The first CCFs or whatever are a certain rate. And I think over that, it's another rate. And then over a certain amount, it's even more. So that and I think it's just for the sprinkler water, it's much, much higher than it has been in the past. So everyone we've talked to has been complaining about their water bill, and ours was $70 one month and $440 the next month.
Good gracious.
Wow.
Kathy, that's happened to us too. I've just tapped onto my neighbor's system.
Kathy can pull it out of the creek in front of her house.
Not right now. It's so dry. It needs some water. But he finally somehow got hold of somebody. I talked to like 40 different people, and they told us it was our problem at the water system. But there's some new variation in the way they charge that's volumetric, I guess is what the right word is. Is that right, Doug? He can't hear me.
What?
The water bill, it's volumetric based on, so.
Yeah, it's a scale that goes up. Your first 200 cubic feet are free. Then it goes up a little bit more for the next 3, then for the next 3. Once you get to 11 CCF, then it's like, I think $5 something for 100 cubic feet.
It's a lot more than it used to be, and I don't know how that was publicized.
Is it your adjustment for sprinkler? Is that what?
It's in the sprinkler for some reason.
That's just the charge for the water itself.
Okay.
For the sprinklers, you don't have to pay sewage fee for that.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Well, do you have a separate? Do you have 2 meters or you have 1 meter?
We have 2.
Okay, so okay. I just have 1 meter, and they just give me. I just get a summer adjustment for the high water bill.
It was just such a shock to have it go up so much. And after I started talking about it, I guess this is what Larry's looking into. We've had other people say the same thing, and it was a little bit of a treasure hunt, not a treasure hunt, and bad.
Kathy, I went to one of those meetings that Tom Druffel sponsored early in the year before COVID, and they had a representative from Metro Water there discussing these new rates and how it worked. But Metro Water was a little bit in the same condition financially as our city and hadn't raised rates in a number of years. And so we, that is the new rate structure. Volumetric is the word they used.
Yeah, I think that was what the person told Doug. It was just a bit shocking, and maybe because we only get a digital bill. In the olden days, you'd have all kinds of junk in your bill. Maybe that would have explained it. I don't know. But
what did you finally do, Kathy?
Paid the bill. Almost a bad word.
How much money was your bill?
Paid the bill and turned the sprinkler off.
Yes, Doug's doing the sprinkler manually. The people that are getting killed are the ones that have their sprinklers on a timer that do the same thing every day. And it's literally gone from 80 to 5.
Oh, okay.
So
the people you see sprinkling while it's raining.
yeah,
outside
the sprinkling while it's raining. So he's just decided to. But that first one, we just paid the.
Can you manually adjust your sprinkler days and times and stuff?
You just have to turn it on when it looks like it needs it. Honestly,
Yeah,
you can do that if you have the right kind of sprinkler. You can.
I can adjust mine and adjust times and days and whatever. But
you can. He's just taking it as personal mission now. He's pissed off. So
okay.
Beth, this might be a little paragraph or something for the newsletter. If we could, and I'd be glad to help you connect with the people that came to that meeting with Metro Water.
That'd be great.
This would be really good community information for our citizens to know how they could save a couple of dollars and not waste water.
Right.
Well, it was really difficult to find a real human that could actually explain what was going on.
It takes forever, Kathy. Even with us calling down there, we don't get any special treatment as a fellow government entity.
I mean, even if they just put some some kind of red lettering on their stuff, say, please be aware that we're in the new rate system. It might be
right.
We thought something was broken.
Well, that brings me to one last thing, and that is going to be, we've got a meeting scheduled with NES. When is it, Beth? What's the date?
Next week on the 25th.
We're going to be discussing the
Thursday?
lights and the structures, what do we call them, Larry? The
Fixtures,
the fixtures, including the lights, whatever. And by the way, those things are really heavy. I told Larry, I said, watch me pick this thing up. And I couldn't lift the thing off the ground at all there. And that's the stanchion plus but the light itself is very, very heavy. But we're going to be discussing the financing, all the details of what NES will be doing on that. And so we're going to try to get to the bottom of what's happened in the past, how this will be handled in the future, if we have any options of buying these ourselves and paying for them outside of NES, or what options might we have. But we're going to have it'll be a friendly meeting, and if anybody wants to come, I don't want to open it for too many people, but we want to keep it. We want to get right down to how they plan on charging, and so. If you're interested and can add to this, give me a call and we'll let you know about the details.
It'll be a Zoom meeting.
It's going to be a Zoom meeting, so.
Let me, I got one other comment, Jim. Right now, I think we're set up at $2.58 per CCF. Is that correct, Beth?
$2.85. That's our
85? Okay.
Yes, $2.85.
I think we need to review if we need to make an adjustment and go up on that a little bit, because we're getting pretty close.
That's in the budget. That's in the budget for next year to have an engineering study, because next year is our 5th year of that rate.
Right.
So if we're going to make an increase, we had promised the residents that we would hold that rate for 5 years.
That's right.
Here's the 5th year. So we've got an engineering study budgeted for
What is the 5th year? Which year is the 5th year?
the upcoming budget year.
Okay. So we're
21.
We're in year 4 right now, going to year 5.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Next meeting will be July 15th, and we'll decide whether that'll be Zoom or whether it'll be I always want to say 6 degrees of separation, because that was a wonderful book. But anyway, 6 feet of separation. We'll decide on that. The Zoom meetings, I think they have a real benefit, but they also have some disadvantages too. So we'll kind of let everybody decide how they want to do it.
Mayor, can I say one thing?
Nope.
Okay, I won't. It was good. It was a positive thing.
I was watching Louise's eyes. I was watching Louise when you started going, when your eyes were just bulging at whatever she was. I think we were both laughing at the same thing when you said, "That's what it is. That's what it is." You know, you were very adamant on what you were saying.
I forgot what it was. What was I saying?
I don't know. But it was you.
I do have some kind of exciting news, and Lyle and I are both excited about this. We had Keystone look at possibly putting monitors in the boardroom so that, like we do on Zoom, especially for the HCC and BZA meetings and so forth, Lyle will display all the plans so everybody
Good.
can see them, and there's no more paper that they're unfolding and trying to look at during the meetings. And so we thought, why can't we do this in our real meetings whenever we get back into the courtroom? So Mike Miller was here today from Keystone, and he's got 5 monitors set up that Lyle can control from his laptop so that we can view from up at the podium everything that's on the screen behind you, and on the TV will now also be on screens for all the board members to look at their meetings.
I'm getting concerned with all the power that we're delegating to Lyle.
I ditto that.
Have you been in our
Look,
little,
he just muted me.
have you been what's across from Edie's desk now?
Pardon?
Have you seen, I was talking to Rusty. Have you seen what's right across from Edie's desk?
I have not.
Well, tell him what it is. Tell him what it is.
It's a TV.
Is it locked on Fox, or do you let Rusty watch something else?
I'm going to take the 5th on that.
Okay.
I can adjust it.
CNBC is probably a better one to have.
Well, if you've ever seen The Wizard of Oz, don't look behind the curtain, okay?
Yeah. All right. Is there any further things to discuss? Appreciate everybody's time. Without that, I will take on a motion from Kathy to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Good.
Y'all,
Thank you.
bye.
Bob, I was so proud of you, Bob. Good work.
You got a lot to be proud of here, buddy.
Yeah.